Here, Conrad's knowledge that he was nodding off and creating a risk serves two analytical purposes. Our multiple choice question actually went to one, and comes the second. First, it shows his voluntary affirmative act, even though he's sound asleep at the wheel. It's just like People versus Decina, where a defendant had an epileptic seizure while he was driving, striking and killing the 4 children on their way to school. Although we didn't discuss Decina's mens rea, in that case we said that he had committed a voluntary actus reus for the crime, although he slumped over the wheel while he's in the middle of a seizure. His knowledge that a seizure could happen made him blameworthy. That's the same for Conrad. Having nodded off 4 to 5 times, Conrad had the knowledge that he could fall asleep at the wheel by at least time number 3 of nodding off. When he does fall asleep at the wheel, he's committed a voluntary affirmative act of homicide because he drove knowing that he might fall asleep at the wheel. Not only does his knowledge demonstrate his actus reus, his knowledge also helps to demonstrate his mens rea for the crime of involuntary manslaughter. He should have appreciated that he was creating a substantial risk. And as we learned in Hall, we need to analyze the 2 components that prove substantial risk. First, we need to focus on the likelihood of the act occurring, and then the magnitude of the harm if the act does occur. So let's play it out. Here, it's possibly a low likelihood that Conrad would actually hit someone when he drifts off the road. It's just as likely that he runs into a fence, a light pole, or a ditch. But what we do know is that if he did hit somebody, either in a car or a pedestrian or a jogger here, the magnitude of the harm could be catastrophic. So it appears that we have a good argument for why it's a substantial risk. But I think there's more to this case on why Conrad becomes the poster child for charging involuntary manslaughter when you fall asleep. And it hinges on the words unjustifiable risk. In that sense, Conrad is very similar to our skier Nathan Hall. Why was Conrad on the road sleepy after having been up all night? Was there a justified purpose? Although the court didn't spell it out as clearly, it's clear the court had disdain for what Conrad had been doing and why it chose to jeopardize those on the road at the same time as he was. For the court, it was clear there was no good reason that Conrad was up all night or was driving so sleepy. He didn't stay up because of work. He didn't stay up because of some extreme emergency. He just stayed up to watch TV, drink beer, and play with his band. In fact, I think you can feel the disdain by one of the facts recounted by the court when it writes that Conrad drank 50 ounces of beer. Who speaks that way about beer? This isn't a Slurpee at a 7-Eleven. Nobody talks about beer in 50-ounce terms. No, the court wrote about the beer in such a way as to enhance the triviality of the night and to make him seem drunk, perhaps, and to make it seem like it was more beers. Although we know that Conrad wasn't charged with the death from drunk driving. That'd be completely different. Although the court distinguished Conrad from Hargrove, our man who was just sleepy when he got off work, on the basis that Hargrove had never nodded off before, I think there's another underlying subtext for the comparison. Why was Hargrove sleepy? Was he as unjustified in creating the risk as Conrad? I don't think so. I think we can make an argument that Hargrove is different from Conrad. Hargrove was sleepy because he had just gotten off a shift at 8 o'clock in the morning. Conrad had absolutely no reason to be up and sleepy when he drove. Yeah, nodding off 4 to 5 times may have been the deciding legal factor, but like Hall, Conrad's reason for behaving irresponsibly was not justified.